Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a privilege to stand before you today. As we journey through life, we encounter moments when the path ahead seems unclear and the temptation to rush is overwhelming. But in those very moments, we must ask ourselves, when is it wise to wait? The Bible teaches us that waiting is not a passive act, but one of trust, patience, and faith. It is in the waiting that we grow, that we learn to depend on God's perfect timing. And while waiting may sometimes seem like a burden, it is in fact a divine invitation to step into His greater plan for our lives. Patience is one of the most crucial virtues we can develop in our journey through life, and it often begins with the simple practice of waiting. In today's fast-pacing world where everything is at our fingertips, the idea of waiting for something can feel uncomfortable, even unnecessary. We live in a culture that promotes instant gratification, where the value of time is often measured by how quickly we can achieve results. However, in the deeper, more spiritual understanding of life, patience is not merely about waiting for things to unfold. It's about allowing ourselves to grow during those moments of pause. Patience, especially in the context of personal growth, isn't a passive state, but an active one. It involves trusting that in the waiting period, we are being prepared for something greater than what we might immediately perceive. When we feel like we are not moving forward, it's easy to become frustrated or discouraged. But in these times, we should recognize that what feels like inactivity is actually an opportunity for development. It's a time when we can refine our character, build resilience, and deepen our understanding of who we are meant to become. The first step in cultivating patience is recognizing that growth doesn't happen overnight. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a tree, we too must allow time for our lives to unfold in a way that aligns with a higher purpose. There's a deep wisdom in the process of growth that cannot be rushed. Just as plants require seasons of rain, sunlight, and soil nourishment to reach their fullest potential, so too do we need seasons of waiting to become the people we are meant to be. In this waiting period, we are not stagnant. We are being shaped and nurtured by the circumstances around us. As we grow, we begin to realize that the most meaningful transformations often happen in the times when we least expect them. We might feel stuck or uncertain, yet the very waiting that seems to hinder us is laying the foundation for our future. The uncomfortable silence between where we are and where we want to be can sometimes feel like a test of endurance, but it's important to see it as a moment where patience becomes our ally. It's in this time of waiting that we are able to reflect, recalibrate, and refine the areas of our lives that need attention. One of the challenges of patience is overcoming our human desire to control the timing of events. We often want to dictate when things happen, and when they don't unfold according to our timeline, we feel unsettled. This is where true patience is tested. The ability to trust that things are unfolding according to a plan that is greater than our own understanding. We may not always know why things are happening as they are, or why certain opportunities seem delayed, but faith teaches us that there is purpose in every season. During these periods of uncertainty, patience is an expression of trust, a declaration that we believe that things will come to fruition in their own time. In the context of personal growth, patience teaches us to understand that we are not defined by the pace at which we move, but by the direction we are heading. The journey is just as important as the destination, and sometimes it's the very act of waiting that reveals the most profound lessons. The growth that occurs during waiting periods is often invisible to others, but is felt deeply within us. We gain clarity about our values, our goals, and the purpose that drives us. Through patience, we become more attuned to our inner voice and more aware of the opportunities around us that we might have otherwise overlooked. The process of developing patience can also lead to a deeper sense of peace. When we accept that some things are beyond our control, we free ourselves from the constant pressure to make things happen. Patience allows us to relax and trust that time will reveal what needs to be revealed. It helps us to understand that growth is not always linear, and that every delay, every moment of waiting, is part of a larger story. Through patience, we come to recognize that life unfolds in its own time, and in that, there is both beauty and purpose. As we cultivate patience, we begin to see it as a strength rather than a burden. In a world that often demands immediate results, the ability to wait with grace and wisdom becomes a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges. Patience teaches us that sometimes the most important growth happens when we least expect it, and that true progress is not always measured by outward achievements, but by the inner transformation that takes place when we allow ourselves the time to evolve. Trusting in God's timing over our own is one of the most profound lessons we can learn in life. It requires a shift in perspective, a willingness to release control, and an understanding that there is a greater plan at work than what we might immediately perceive. In a world that values self-reliance and quick results, this can be a difficult concept to embrace. We are often taught to set goals, make plans, and execute them as quickly and efficiently as possible. However, God's timing doesn't always align with our own. It's often slower, more deliberate, and sometimes, when we least expect it, perfectly timed in a way we could never have orchestrated on our own. When we talk about trusting God's timing, we're acknowledging that our understanding of the world is limited and that there are forces beyond our control. We may not always see the big picture or understand why certain things happen when they do, but faith teaches us that God's timing is always right. It's a reminder that we don't have to have everything figured out ahead of time. Instead, we must trust that He will guide us and bring us into the right moments when the time is right, even if that means waiting longer than we would have liked. This trust requires patience, but it also requires surrender. When we hold on too tightly to our own timeline, we are often resisting the flow of God's plan for our lives. We may feel frustrated or even disillusioned when things don't happen on our schedule, and we may struggle with doubt when things seem to stall. But in those moments, it is important to remember that God's perspective is infinitely broader than ours. What may seem like a delay or a setback is often part of a divine orchestration that we cannot yet comprehend. Our impatience can sometimes cloud our ability to see that God is working behind the scenes, preparing us for the opportunities that are meant for us. A key element of trusting God's timing is learning to rest in the assurance that He knows what is best for us. It's not just about waiting passively, but about choosing to believe that God is actively involved in our lives, guiding us in ways that will ultimately lead to our good. Even when things don't make sense, or when life doesn't unfold the way we thought it would, trusting in God's timing means believing that He is sovereign and that everything is unfolding according to His will. It's about surrendering our plans to Him and saying, "Your timing is perfect, even if I don't understand it." This trust isn't just about waiting for big, life-altering events to occur, such as finding a career, a partner, or a new home. It also applies to the smaller, everyday moments. The times when we're waiting for clarity in a decision, waiting for a change in our circumstances, or waiting for a relationship to heal. In each of these moments, trusting in God's timing invites us to pause, breathe, and remember that He is with us in every season, no matter how long or uncertain it may seem. He knows what we need, and He knows the right time to give it to us. In our human nature, we often feel the need to take matters into our own hands when things aren't happening as we want them to. This can lead to frustration, anxiety, and even making hasty decisions that aren't aligned with God's will. But trusting God's timing means resisting that urge and choosing to wait patiently, even when it's hard. It means trusting that the wait is not in vain, but is part of the process of refinement and growth. When we wait on God's timing, we open ourselves to His guidance, to the lessons He wants to teach us, and to the blessings He wants to bring into our lives at the right moment. Trusting God's timing also requires humility. It's a recognition that we don't have all the answers and that, in many ways, we are not in control. This can be a difficult thing to accept, especially when we feel like we should be making progress or achieving success. But when we trust that God is in control, we release the pressure we place on ourselves to constantly push forward. We allow ourselves to rest in His provision and His timing, knowing that He will bring us to the right place at the right time. Ultimately, trusting in God's timing is a decision to let go of our own agenda, and it's a practice of faith that acknowledges the wisdom of waiting and the power of trusting that God knows what is best for us, even when we don't fully understand the reasons behind His timing. This trust is not only a reflection of our faith, but a testament to the peace that comes when we release our timelines to a higher power. Waiting is often seen as a passive act, but in reality, it is one of the most active and transformative seasons of our lives. The power of waiting lies not in what we do in the moment of delay, but in what is happening within us. When we find ourselves in a season of waiting, it can be easy to become frustrated or discouraged, especially when we are eager for change or progress. However, if we shift our perspective and view waiting as a season of preparation, we can unlock its true potential. Waiting is not just about stalling time, it is about being shaped, molded, and refined for what is ahead. The first aspect of waiting as a season of preparation is the understanding that growth often requires time. Just as a seed requires time to sprout, grow, and eventually bear fruit, so too do we need time to develop the qualities and abilities that will equip us for the future. In a world that often values speed and instant results, we may find ourselves impatient with the process, but there is wisdom in allowing things to unfold naturally. It is in the waiting that we are equipped with the character, wisdom, and strength that will sustain us when the right moment comes. The preparation during this time may not be immediately visible to others, but it is deeply significant to our personal development. In times of waiting, we also learn to trust that the right opportunities and circumstances will come at the right time. Often, when we feel stuck or uncertain, we are being prepared to step into something that requires a deeper level of maturity, understanding, or skill. The waiting period may feel frustrating, but it is in those moments that we are being equipped with the tools we need for the future. During this time, we can focus on improving ourselves, learning new skills, and deepening our understanding of the things that matter most. This period of waiting offers us a chance to reflect on our values, our purpose, and the direction in which we want to move forward. Moreover, waiting offers us an opportunity to develop patience, which is an essential part of our spiritual and personal growth. Patience is not merely the ability to endure discomfort, it is the ability to endure with hope, faith, and trust that the waiting process is not in vain. Patience allows us to cultivate resilience, to strengthen our ability to persevere through challenges, and to learn how to stay grounded even when things aren't moving as quickly as we'd like. It teaches us to rely not on our own timeline, but on the greater wisdom and timing of life. This active waiting can help build our character in ways that fast-pacing progress never could. Another crucial aspect of waiting as a season of preparation is the opportunity it gives us to learn and grow in wisdom. When we rush through life, we often miss the lessons that are available to us in the waiting periods. These lessons may come in the form of reflection, self-discovery, or encounters with others who help shape our thinking and perspectives. In times of waiting, we are given the space to process what has happened in the past and to prepare ourselves for what is yet to come. By embracing the waiting season, we allow ourselves to become more attuned to the subtler, more meaningful lessons that life has to offer. As we wait, we also have the chance to strengthen our relationship with God. Waiting encourages us to lean into Him, to trust His timing, and to seek His guidance more earnestly. It is in these times that we often feel closest to Him because we are forced to rely on His wisdom and grace rather than our own strength or plans. Through prayer, reflection, and seeking His presence, we can deepen our understanding of who God is and how He works in our lives. This relationship becomes a source of peace and assurance during times of uncertainty, and it helps us to remain patient and trusting as we wait for what lies ahead. Ultimately, waiting is a season of profound growth. It may not always be easy, and at times it may feel like we are not moving forward, but it is in these moments that the foundation for our future is being laid. Waiting is a preparation process, a refining fire that strengthens us, sharpens our focus, and aligns us more closely with our true purpose. It teaches us valuable lessons about patience, trust, and faith, and it prepares us for the opportunities and challenges that await. The season of waiting, though difficult, is one of the most transformative periods in our lives. When we learn to embrace it, we begin to see it not as a delay, but as a necessary step in the journey toward becoming the person we are meant to be. In life, we often face moments of delay and disappointment, and during these times, we can be tempted to see them as barriers to our success or evidence that we are being denied the things we desire. However, it's essential to understand that delays are not denials. Just because something is not happening in the time or manner we expect, it does not mean that our desires, prayers, or dreams are being rejected. Delays are not a reflection of God's denial, but often an indication that something greater is at work beneath the surface. These moments of waiting are not to be seen as setbacks, but as periods of divine preparation, redirection, and growth. One of the most powerful lessons we can learn is that when we face delays, it is an opportunity to deepen our trust in God's plan for us. Often, we are quick to assume that because our desires are not being fulfilled at the moment, it means we will never see them come to pass. Yet, God's timing is far more intricate and purposeful than we can understand. He knows the perfect time for things to unfold, and while it may not align with our own timelines, it is always in accordance with a greater and wiser plan. What may seem like a denial in the moment is often a divine redirection, a time when God is aligning us with the right opportunities, people, and circumstances. Sometimes delays occur because we are not yet ready to handle what we are asking for. We may be seeking success, a promotion, a relationship, or some other goal, but the delay could be God's way of preparing us for what is ahead. He knows that in order for us to fully appreciate and sustain the blessings He has in store, we need to undergo a period of growth. This may involve building character, gaining experience, or learning important life lessons. During this time of waiting, God may be refining our hearts, strengthening our faith, and preparing us to receive His blessings in a way that will allow us to use them for His greater purpose. Delays can also act as a reminder that life's timing is not something we can control. We often think that if we work hard enough, make the right decisions, or push ourselves forward, we can force things to happen on our own timeline. However, there are times when no amount of effort can speed up the process. In these moments, we are invited to surrender our plans and trust that God's timing is perfect. This surrender does not mean passivity or inaction, but rather an active trust that what is meant for us will come at the right time. It is in this space of surrender that we find peace, knowing that our life is unfolding as it should. Another powerful aspect of delays is that they help us learn patience. Patience is not just about waiting, it's about how we wait. We can either grow frustrated, anxious, and bitter during a time of delay, or we can choose to develop patience by trusting in God's wisdom and timing. Patience is an important spiritual discipline that teaches us to rely on God rather than our own understanding. It helps us develop a deeper sense of contentment and gratitude, even in the waiting periods. When we embrace the delays in our lives, we allow patience to become a character trait that will serve us well in every season. Furthermore, delays often reveal our true priorities and motivations. In the absence of immediate results, we are faced with an opportunity to reflect on why we desire certain things. Are our desires aligned with God's purpose for us, or are we pursuing things for selfish gain? Delays can serve as a time for self-reflection, allowing us to examine our hearts and realign our goals with a higher purpose. It is in this space of pause that we can recalibrate our direction and ensure that we are moving toward what truly matters. Ultimately, understanding that delays are not denials requires a shift in perspective. We must learn to see delays not as frustrations, but as invitations to trust more deeply in God's plan. When we face delays, we have the opportunity to grow in faith, patience, and surrender. We are reminded that our timing is not always the best, and that God is at work in ways we cannot always see. In these moments, it is essential to hold on to the belief that God's delays are often a means of protection, preparation, or redirection. When we embrace this truth, we can move forward with a sense of peace and confidence, knowing that what is meant for us will come at the right time. Learning to discern when to act and when to wait is one of the most crucial skills we can develop in life. Often we find ourselves caught in the tension between these two choices, acting prematurely, driven by impatience or fear, or waiting too long, paralyzed by indecision or uncertainty. Both extremes can lead us away from God's best for us. The key lies in discerning the right moments when action is necessary and when it is wiser to wait. This requires not just discernment, but a deep trust in God's guidance and timing, as well as an understanding of our own inner motivations and desires. The first step in discerning when to act and when to wait is cultivating a close relationship with God through prayer and reflection. It is in these moments of seeking God that we gain clarity and wisdom. God is always ready to guide us, but we must be willing to listen. His voice may not always come as a loud, dramatic message, but often as a gentle nudge or a sense of peace in our hearts. Through prayer, we align ourselves with God's will, and we begin to understand what action is needed and when it's time to wait for further direction. It's important to remember that God's timing and wisdom are far beyond our own, and that by trusting Him, we can navigate the complexities of life with confidence. Another key element of discernment is understanding our own motivations. Why do we feel the urge to act now? Is it because we are afraid of missing out, or are we driven by a sense of urgency that may not be rooted in God's will? At times, our desires can cloud our judgment, and it's important to assess whether our actions are being driven by impatience, fear, or genuine guidance. When we are not clear on why we want to act, it becomes difficult to discern whether the timing is right. Sometimes the wisdom lies in waiting until we have clarity both in our hearts and minds about the decisions we are about to make. The ability to discern when to act is also about understanding the circumstances around us. Is the door open for action, or is it still closed? Are we being given opportunities, or are there signs that indicate we should pause and wait? God often provides us with both internal and external cues, and it's essential to pay attention to these. Sometimes we may feel a strong pull to take action, but the circumstances may not align with our goals. In these moments, waiting may not be a sign of weakness or indecision, but an opportunity to prepare, pray, and wait for the right conditions. Understanding that timing is often as important as the decision itself is vital. If we act too soon, we might miss the window of opportunity that God has for us, or we may not be fully equipped for the task ahead. When we learn to wait, we also learn patience, which builds strength and resilience. Waiting is not just about doing nothing, it's an active process. It is in the waiting that we develop the virtues of patience, trust, and perseverance. Patience allows us to stay grounded even when the world around us is moving quickly. Trusting God's timing helps us resist the temptation to rush into things that are not ready for us. And perseverance gives us the fortitude to continue pressing forward even when the results are not immediate. Waiting with patience is a discipline that strengthens our spiritual muscles and helps us to make decisions with wisdom and clarity. However, waiting is not a passive state where we simply sit and hope for things to change. Waiting requires preparation. It is an active time of reflection, learning, and growth. During periods of waiting, we can use the time to deepen our knowledge, sharpen our skills, and grow in areas that will help us when the time to act finally comes. God often uses these moments to teach us important lessons that will make us more effective and better equipped for the future. Whether we are waiting for a job opportunity, a relationship, or some other life event, the waiting period is a time for growth and personal development. Ultimately, the key to discerning when to act and when to wait lies in developing a deep sense of trust in God's plan and timing. It is about learning to hear His voice, assessing our own motivations, and being aware of the circumstances around us. It requires patience, wisdom, and an understanding that not every moment is the right moment to move forward. Sometimes waiting is necessary for preparation, growth, and alignment with God's greater purpose. When we can learn to balance the tension between action and patience, we become more attuned to God's will for our lives and more capable of making wise, timely decisions. This discernment process, though challenging at times, is one of the most rewarding aspects of our journey toward living with purpose and alignment with God's plan. In our fast-paced world, waiting often feels like a waste of time. We are constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we need to hustle, be productive, and always be moving forward. However, the reality is that waiting can be one of the most valuable experiences in our lives. It is in these moments of waiting that we learn the importance of patience, perseverance, and trust in God's timing. Waiting teaches us that sometimes the best course of action is to pause and reflect, allowing ourselves to be prepared for the next step rather than rushing into it. The act of waiting is often misunderstood, especially in a culture that prizes instant results and quick fixes. We are conditioned to believe that success comes from constant motion, constant striving, and always being busy. However, there is immense power in stillness. And when we wait, we are giving ourselves the space to grow, reflect, and seek clarity. In those moments of waiting, we may find that the direction we thought we were supposed to take is not the right one, or that the timing we initially thought was perfect needs to be adjusted. Through waiting, God has the chance to reshape our desires and plans, helping us to align more closely with His will. Waiting is also a reminder that we are not in control. It forces us to confront our need for patience and surrender to something greater than ourselves. When we want things to happen now, we often take matters into our own hands, believing that we can force the outcome. But waiting teaches us humility, reminding us that we do not have the power to make everything happen according to our timeline. In waiting, we are asked to trust that God is in control and that He knows what is best for us. It is in this trust that we learn to let go of our own agendas and rest in His sovereignty. During the waiting process, we also have the opportunity to deepen our relationship with God. Waiting can be an invitation to spend more time in prayer, reflection, and seeking His guidance. It is in these quiet moments that we often hear God's voice more clearly. When we are in a hurry, we may rush through life, neglecting to listen to the still, small voice of God. But when we wait, we create space to hear from Him and to be led by His wisdom. Through this deeper connection, we are reminded that we are not alone in the waiting. God is present with us, guiding and shaping us in ways we may not fully understand but can trust. Waiting also helps us build character. It teaches us to persevere through uncertainty and discomfort. The challenges we face in the waiting period are not meant to break us, but to build us up. In these moments, we can develop the qualities of patience, resilience, and faith. We learn that not every answer is immediate and that some of the most valuable lessons in life come through enduring the waiting process. Just as physical muscles are strengthened through resistance, our spiritual muscles are strengthened through waiting. It is in these moments that we become more equipped to handle the challenges of life, more grounded in our faith, and more prepared for the future. Another crucial aspect of waiting is the growth that happens in the midst of it. Often the delay we experience is not a result of something being denied to us, but a part of the refining process. God uses these times to prune us, to help us grow in ways we could not have anticipated. In waiting, we can develop new skills, deepen our understanding, and build stronger relationships. Just as a tree takes time to grow roots before it can bear fruit, so too must we take time to develop the inner strength and wisdom necessary for the fruit of our labor. The waiting period is often a time of quiet preparation, where we are being shaped and molded to handle the blessings that will eventually come. Through all of this, waiting teaches us that life is not always about achieving or acquiring things as quickly as possible. It is about becoming the person we are meant to be along the way. The process is just as important as the outcome, and in the moments of waiting, we find the opportunities to learn, grow, and trust in God's perfect timing. Waiting is not a passive experience, but an active one, where we are continually shaped and refined, becoming more prepared for the future that lies ahead. When we embrace the waiting, we learn to let go of our need for control, trust in God's sovereignty, and ultimately experience the peace that comes with knowing that everything will unfold according to His perfect plan.